Well, good morning. Glad you could tune in. Welcome to a program that I call What in the World? And I want you to think of this as just what in the world is the devil up to? I'm Vic Koshir. I pastor Grace Baptist Church in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. We are located approximately 24 miles east of Pittsburgh, so that gives you an idea where we're located. If you watch the news and maybe not so much watch the news and maybe you have access to other media, you're probably aware of digital currency. And I'm one of these people that when I watch the news, I like to try to interpret it or filter it through Bible prophecy. There's a lot of people in general, and Christian people, where they're all about the cupcakes. They're all about the marshmallows. All they want to hear about are the sweet things, and they don't want to hear anything that's going to upset them or make them nervous or cause some kind of consternation. You know, I'm reminded of Matthew 16:3. Jesus is having a confrontation with the religionists of his day, and he says, boy, you people are good at predicting the weather, and in the morning it will be foul weather, for the sky is red and threatening. Hypocrites, you know how to discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. Well, that's not very flattering, is it? Jesus wants us to be aware of what's happening, in particular in light of Bible prophecy. So I want to share with you a passage out of Revelation chapter 13. Then I'm going to show you a 4-minute video, and then I'm going to come in with some more comments. And I think the total time length of this, I'm shooting for 10 minutes, but we'll see how it goes. Here's what's coming in the future. Revelation tells us a lot about the future. And in Revelation 13, verses 16 and 17, he's talking about a future world leader. The world is heading toward a one-world government. And when this guy called the Antichrist comes into power, it says here that he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy, sell, or trade except one who has the mark or the number of the beast or the number of his name. And then the next verse talks about 666, and everybody is familiar with that. You know, I've been a Christian for, 43 years, and I started off listening to a lot of Bible prophecy. Nearly every Bible prophecy teacher since the 70s, when they get to Revelation 13, they're telling us that that refers to a cashless society. And I listened to people like Dr. Tim LaHaye, and most of you are most likely familiar with the Left Behind series of books, and then there were some movies produced based on those books, and then everybody is familiar with Hal Lindsey's book, The Late Great Planet Earth, and he talks about it. I listened to a fellow named Jack Van Impe. He was the walking Bible, had the entire Bible committed to memory. He had a prophecy show. He's with the Lord now, and I think it was called Perhaps Today was his prophecy show. And, you know, they all said that this is refers to a cashless society. The mark has to do with a tattoo. And then when the beast, Antichrist, comes into power, there's going to be a prefix on the front of it, 666. And so, you know, that's what we're talking about. This mark, when he says to receive a mark, typically that was a brand, like you'd brand a cattle. You know, it was a brand in the Roman Empire. It'd tell you that I'm a member of this certain legion of soldiers, and they used it for other things, slaves, to identify, and it was an identity thing. And then the Romans used to do tattoos as a form of identity, and there's a lot of people that have, we were familiar with ink, right? And then, what it means is it is something that distinguishes you or sets you apart. Here you see a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads. Depending on what version of the Bible you're looking at, sometimes you also see in instead of on. It's the same Greek word, epi. And epi has to do with, it could be translated on, it could be translated in. It could also mean something that is superimposed on something. And whenever it's superimposed on something, both things are identifiable. For instance, I have our heading up there. I got that map of the United States from space, and I superimposed what in the world is the devil up to. And so it could be something that is laid over on top of something. And I believe that there's going to be a digital currency that comes into being. I believe it's going to be we're heading for a cashless society at a rapid rate. And I believe that when the Antichrist takes power, he's going to superimpose his mark upon it. Now, with that said, the question is, so what is Revelation 13 talking about? I come across a 4-minute video. It's by a girl who does these twice a month. She goes by the name, what's her name? And I still don't know what her name is. What's her name? But she has her hand on the pulse, and this is what's going on in Canada. And you're going to be thinking, well, what are you talking about Canadians for? Well, I also have in my hand here another one of President Biden's mandates that he unleashed, and we're going to tie this together here. So, you ready? Let's roll into that 4-minute video. She talks fast, get your ears on.
Applications for a product architect to design a digital currency. The Bank of Canada is embarking on a program of major social significance to design a contingent system for a central bank digital currency, which can be thought of as a banknote but in digital form. But wait, it gets even better. Under the challenges section, the Bank of Canada specifies that the digital currency must be universally accessible. Regardless of their circumstances, CBDC should be usable by all Canadians, even by those without a bank account or access to a cellular phone. What sort of technology could allow you to access digital currency without a cell phone? Could it be a microchip? This may seem far-fetched to those of you who remained willfully ignorant over the past 19 months, but it isn't far-fetched at all. Here's how human microchipping is going in Sweden.
When Elias Brotberger goes to work, he doesn't need ID, and he doesn't need money. In fact, much of what he needs to get through the day is hidden right there, just below the surface, in his hand. Embedded in his hand is a microchip that serves as his keys, his ID, and his wallet.
Now, while the chip being used in Sweden connects directly to the user's bank account, the CBDC being rolled out in Canada is not to be confused with online payment apps. This is a brand new centralized form of currency. So what does that mean? It means that this new form of currency will bypass the commercial banking system and be completely controlled by the government, with the ultimate goal of eliminating cash altogether. So once this system is in place, the government can track all of your spending habits, automatically withdraw funds for taxation, and even shut your digital wallet down altogether if you're being a bad little boy or girl. Centralized digital currency is already in place in China, where it will be integrated into their social credit system. A system that scores citizens on their behavior, and bad behavior is punished by restricting their participation in society. A bad score can come from minor infractions like gossiping, littering, or speaking ill of the government, and can result in being blacklisted from traveling, going to restaurants, or even renting a home. Wow, interesting how China's social credit system looks identical to the vaccine passport we're using to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. You know, a smart person might even assume that the virus was simply a Trojan horse to usher in a complete surveillance state, but luckily there aren't that many smart people here in Canada. Now, of course, none of this is the natural progression of technology. The RFID implant to connect the digital currency to the social credit system has been in the works for years, and many have warned about its implications. One such man is Aaron Russo, who recounted his conversations with Nick Rockefeller about the Rockefeller family's plan to accomplish complete control over humanity.
And the whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
everything.
you sell.
Everything is in there.
Now, some of you may think that all of this is completely unrelated to COVID, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Retail stores and restaurants across the country are now going contactless under the guise of public health and safety. Some establishments are even refusing cash altogether over the fear that the boogeyman virus might thrive on banknotes. The vaccine passport is simply a free trial to the social credit system, digital currency, and complete control and surveillance of the entire global population. So if you're still on the fence about whether you should participate in the Vax Pass and the segregation of society, you can rest assured that where we're headed, you're gonna wish COVID would take you out.
All right, she mentioned David Rockefeller. David Rockefeller is instrumental in striving for and had a goal of setting up a one-world government. One-world government in our lifetime, by the way, started in the 20s. And I don't have the 1920s. I don't have time to get into that right now. But David Rockefeller died, and now Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates have pretty much they are the predecessors. They have pretty much taken this movement over. She mentioned vaccine passports here in the United States. We haven't heard much about it, but I'll tell you what, in the UK and the European Union, it was a pretty big deal. There were weekend protests in Germany, France, Bosnia, Czech Republic, other places where they were protesting these vaccine passports. And when she mentions a pre-trial for social credit system and digital currency for complete control and surveillance of the entire global population, that is a Chinese model. And some of you who are in the know and keep your ears on and, like Jesus said, you cannot discern the times. You don't want to be one of those people. Some of you are discerning the times. You're very well familiar with who Klaus Schwab is and the World Economic Forum, where 3,000 billionaires every year meet annually to propagate programs and plans to bring about this great reset, this new world order, this one world government. And they all talk about how they love China and the China model, and they're real big on what China is doing with their social credit score. So here it is. You post something, maybe you learn something that is contrary to the official government stance on COVID, and you put that on your Facebook page. It's going to ding your credit score. You do so many things that the government doesn't like, you get a lower credit score. Now you can't buy that house, you can't live in that apartment, you can't drive that car. I think it's interesting that Biden, in one of his executive orders, wants a kill switch on all new automobiles being manufactured. And so they can press a signal from a satellite to freeze and stop that car. Now imagine if you're digital credit score, social credit score is too low. And here we are in Westmoreland County, and I want to go to a restaurant in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 25 miles away, but my digital credit score is too low to let me cross over the county line, so my car loses power and stops. Imagine a scenario like that. Right now, currently as I speak, in the UK, the Prime Minister is working on a health credit score. And, it's tied into this chip digital currency that if you are deemed unhealthy and you go to buy a bag of Frito corn chips, it will not let you purchase that unhealthy food. So we're heading toward a total control. When you see, you talked about Europe, you talked about Canada, how does that affect us here in the United States? I have in my hand here an article that I pulled off of www.whitehouse.gov, a fact sheet. President Biden to sign an executive order. How many is that now? In the past 14 months. Number 130-something. He's to sign an executive order on ensuring responsible development of digital assets. This happened on March the 9th, 2022. It says here, and I don't have time to read the 3 pages to you because we're trying to keep it to 10 minutes. It says over 100 countries are exploring or piloting central bank digital currencies, a digital form of a country's sovereign currency. So you say, well, what does that mean? It means cash is out, chips are in. That's what that means. I believe within the next 7 years, because I showed videos in sermons here about the World Economic Forum, by 2030 you will own nothing and you will be happy. Remember that? I believe within the next 7 years what you're going to see is a phasing out of cash. And what that means is, you say, well, how does that apply to Revelation 13 verses 16 and 17? Listen, the digital currency is a precursor to numb the global population to accept the mark of the beast. It is a gradual conditioning and grooming process that will ultimately lead to accept the mark of the beast. You don't think the Antichrist is going to take power one day and now everybody, I want you to get this mark. That's not going to happen. There has to be a grooming process, a numbing process to condition people's thinking to, oh yeah, no big deal. We did that back in 2024. This is just another prefix onto the digital chip in my hand. And so I realize that may make a number of people nervous. But actually, if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, that is actually good news. The world is not falling apart. There's a plan that's falling into place. The next event on God's prophetic calendar is an event called the rapture, the evacuation of believers in Jesus Christ to miss this 7-year tribulation. And in Revelation 13, in the middle of that chapter, it talks about the beast coming to power, the Antichrist coming to power. So I believe that a believer in Jesus Christ is going to miss all of that. Now, that's not going to stop the precursor, and this isn't going to stop the conditioning effect. You may well see this stuff fall into place before the rapture of the church, but what it means to me is, I've seen more things happen in the past 22 months that pertain to Bible prophecy than I have the past 40 years before that. And it's like a locomotive engine heading toward a cliff, and no way to slow it down. And so in my mind, it's falling into place, and I find it somewhat encouraging. Now, if you'd like to know more about this, I did a prophecy series called Jesus the Return. And you Facebook listeners, if you fish around to the side there in the margin, you will see a link to our church website, Grace Baptist Church 15601. You click that, start probing the drop-down menus. You will see sermon series. You're looking for a series called Jesus the Return. And then popped off to the side, what you're looking for are 2 sermons. They're actually one, but they're in 2 parts. You're looking for a title called 666, The Big Setup, How Antichrist Comes to Power. All you need to look for is the 666. And you'll see part one. Part one, I lay out how COVID is part of this setup to condition people. And then part 2, I talk about the Great Reset and Charles Schwab. And there we have some video clips in that. And then for some of you who may be concerned that you may miss the rapture of the church, posted Saturday on our Facebook page is about a 15-minute video. And I have here in our church, it's actually the last 15 minutes of our Easter sermon, but we're making a separate image button for it. And we spell out, I show people that there's a verse in the Bible that says you can know. So if you can invest 15 minutes, you can find out how you can know for sure that you'd be on your way to heaven. So that about sums it up. I want to thank you for listening. Please share. I encourage you to share this. If you believe it's other people ought to know this, share this. And God bless you, and thanks for listening.